Fabrizio Romano finally hits us with the infamous "here we go," as today it has been announced that we have agreed to appoint Enzo Maresca as our new manager. Today, my friends, I'm here to discuss the latest news surrounding Enzo Maresca, so I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you're excited by this appointment, if you're excited by this new direction the club is heading towards, let us know in the comment section. Feel free to share your thoughts and opinions, but you know what, that's enough of the intro. Let's get straight into this vid. And for the big news, Enzo Maresca has agreed to become our new manager, and he is set to sign a 5-year deal plus a 1-year option to extend included in the contract. This is a massive commitment from our football club. It's a massive sign of intent. It's a big statement we are making. Guardiola, for example, when he first signed for Man City, he only signed with a 3-year deal. So if I'm Enzo Maresca, this was the show of confidence I needed to really feel like, okay, I'm making the right career decision at this point in time to make the move to Chelsea right now, because I don't think he had to do this. He was in no rush. He has tons of interest from other clubs, and there was another big European club also expressing interest in trying to hire him. So we also had to let Maresca know, we believe in you, we want you, and at least this gives me like a little feeling of reassurance that there's this mutuality between our new manager and the current directors at this football club. We are now finalizing an agreement to pay his 10 million compensation fee, and he is set to sign a 5 million a year contract as well too. So yeah, I'm really interested by this direction. As I've said, I wouldn't have necessarily, in my opinion, gone down this positional play route. I actually felt like some of the football we were playing, there was signs of life. There could have been improvements in this direction. And as I've said like a million times, I like how Real Madrid play. I like the dynamism. I like the excitement. I like how you can't really predict how moments are set to unfold. And I like seeing top players having that license and freedom to show what they can do. That is how I would have continued, but that's only my opinion. And I want to just let you guys know where I stand, because this doesn't necessarily mean that I'm opposed to this positional play route. All I'm saying is that if we are going to commit to this new style, we have to fully commit to it. We can't half-ass it. We have to fully get into this. And I do think in Maresca, we are signing one of the up-and-coming managers in this philosophy, because he's done great work at Man City with their under-23 team. He's worked alongside Pep Guardiola. These were factors which encouraged us to make a move. Remember, when Lee stood, they announced that they preferred Maresca. They presented him to the boards. They got the board excited. And obviously, alongside Joe Shields, they all felt like this is the best manager that we should turn to right now to take this club forward. We've heard that our directors have been working 17-hour days, and listen, I'll give them credit, that's a lot of hours, and they've had to fast track this appointment process to find a new manager in time for the start of June. So big credit goes out to them for the big work they've put in. I might sound a little cynical. I also think that because they have full license to make executive decisions at our football club, it means that they also take responsibility when things don't work out right. So now that they're fully embracing Maresca, it's no surprise to me why they will give him a degree of patience. And in terms of patience, we are learning from reports that this will include him having to perform on a base level. I wonder what that means. Is that guaranteed Champions League football? You'd like to think after all this investment, it has to be a guarantee of Champions League football, right? And obviously, Maresca, of course, can't rock the boat. But we have to remember that he's accepted our proposal and he wants to come in as a head coach. And I think for Maresca, he's more than excited by the squad given towards him, because he has many players already within our squad that complement his philosophy and his way of playing. And I think that when you know that you're at a club like us that can sign the best talents, young, exciting players, if you're any type of manager, you are not saying no to an opportunity like this. And I think now that we finally come to the conclusion of this managerial race, it was evident this whole time that actually many managers do want to come here. And I'm really excited at the prospect of working with our squad. Still, I'm just hoping that things do work out. I'm hoping the board finally give patience to a manager now, because they've said time and time again after every manager we've hired, we will back them and have patience towards them, and we will back them and we will provide that patience. Now, it hasn't worked out. We've seen this with Pochettino, but I guess we have to be fair. We have to remember that Pochettino wasn't sacked. There was a mutual disagreement and a mutual parting of ways because they weren't agreeing and aligning on the philosophy. That's okay. We're also learning more reports surrounding some of Maresca's ideas for certain players already in our squad, most notably ideas around Enzo Fernandez. It has been revealed that Maresca has outlined several setup shifts that he believes can make Enzo shine. And in my opinion, I think this clearly means expect to see Enzo Fernandez regularly getting around 100 to 110 passes of a game throughout this season now, because he needs someone in the base of that pivot who is the brain of the team. And listen, we have seen Enzo Fernandez, I don't want to say the word struggle. I think struggle is kind of harsh. We have to remember the circumstances in which he first came to the club. We had no system in that first season he arrived. We had no ideas. We were a complete mess. Under Pochettino, a lot of his season was affected by long-term pain and a long-term injury, but let's not pretend that we didn't see some great performances and games from him. I remember praising him quite a few times throughout the season, and I think every single time his form dipped came when obviously the pain was too much to play through. But I think with Maresca coming in now, he will be seen as more of a cruise, deep line playmaker in our midfield, instead of playing more of this box-to-box role, which I don't think Enzo was awful at, and I do think that under different circumstances he probably could have shined even more playing box-to-box, because I keep saying this, the guy was regularly playing there throughout large parts of his career back in Argentina, and obviously even at Benfica he had that license to get forward as well too. So let's not act like Enzo can't develop to be a great box-to-box mid. But it will be interesting to see whether Maresca tends to allow him to play box-to-box at times. But in my opinion, I feel like he will be mainly using the base of midfield, just dictating, controlling the tempo of our game and connecting the field. I think that's what you need in the middle. You need that connector. And Enzo is one of the best passers in the league in short distances, medium distances, and long distances as well too. So I'm really excited to see Enzo playing under Maresca, seeing how he develops. And naturally, our owners, our directors, they want to make sure their investment shines now, because Enzo was one of the original marquee buys, one of the big money buys that completely captured the imagination of not only our owners, but the directors as well too. So there's a lot more to come from Enzo, and he's someone I really like and I've got a lot of confidence in still. And I think next season, at the moment, he could absolutely cook. We are also learning about potential transfer plans for the summer. As Romano stated, expected to be another busy, crazy period during the summer. We have a lot of players that we need to sell. We need a lot of players that we have to sign for Maresca now that suit his ideas and his philosophy, now that we are adapting our way of playing. Because that's the main word here, we're adapting it. Let's not pretend that Pochettino didn't include some foundations in this way of playing that Maresca can now expand upon, improve upon, and now put his blueprint on to make us his team. Obviously, the use of Cucurella inverting in the midfields. We saw Levi Cole at the start of the season playing this auxiliary left back / centre back role. There was wavering levels of success behind how it was used, but the team clearly understood the ideas and they were starting to really enjoy their football near the end of the season. So I do think that they're going to be a bit excited now to work under Maresca, knowing that this football isn't alien to them. They can expand upon what was left behind them. Yes, there is disappointment behind how Pochettino left, but on paper, I think with Maresca already knowing some of the players, I'm sure Palmer and Lavia are really letting the whole squad know right now. Listen, I worked under him. This guy was a phenomenal coach for us during the academy days, and we're going to play some great football still. So you guys, listen, obviously we're all upset about Pochettino, but I do believe we're in safe hands, and I think this is a good appointment for us, and I think he would be the right manager that all of us are going to enjoy playing under based on his personality, his infectious attitudes, you know, his real strong core beliefs behind his way of playing. So in that sense, I think it's an intelligent decision to maybe go for Maresca, even though I'll admit I was getting a bit enamored by McKenna and his way of playing, because I like how unique it was and what he did with Ipswich Town. With way less resources compared to Leicester City. I think Leicester City's wage budget would have made them like one of the 10th highest earners in the Premier League, not even in the Championship. He definitely is a manager to keep an eye out for in the Premier League next season. But I can see why maybe the club decided, you know what, we trust Maresca over a De Zerbi right now because he understands the structure and he only cares about the first team and working with great players. But this first team is not complete yet in Maresca's image. We are going to have to sign some players, and reports are suggesting that 4 to 5 additions may be coming in this summer. Now, for a dead certain given, that will be probably a new goalkeeper. Now, you might not like what I say, but I know Robert Sanchez was getting a lot of flack last season, but I seem to remember in my opinion, the correlation between Sanchez not recovering fully from his injuries and him getting maybe more criticism. He did make some big saves at the start of the season. I know he had that big mistake against Arsenal, but on the ball, he can play out from the back. He did show that with his passing on the ground at least. You know, he isn't necessarily Edison or Addison in terms of distribution, right? But in terms of being a goalkeeper that can like move in to create that makeshift back four to help us play out from the back, Sanchez shows that he is a sweeper keeper that has this in his game. But are we going to now buy a big goalkeeper? Because I feel like if you're going to sign a goalkeeper now to replace either one of Petrovic, who also had a great debut season, or Sanchez, you have to sign probably a marquee goalkeeper. And I'm looking at someone like a Diogo Costa from FC Porto. I think we tried to get him last summer. We really tried to sign him last summer. Maybe now it's a bit easier to target him this summer. Time will tell. We know that a centre-back or maybe centre-backs and a striker are definitely a given. I think to myself, Osimhen is clearly number one, but these reports around Seshko aren't going away anytime soon. But I'm sorry, there's no way we can have Osimhen, Nico Jackson and Seshko all together in the same squad. That is too greedy. In my opinion, you decide between Osimhen or Seshko. If you sign Seshko, it means you spend even more money on signing a great attacking player to add to the team. If you go for Osimhen, you spend less money on other positions. That's how it needs to work. But equally for the other two positions, I would not be surprised that we look to find these auxiliary players, players that are comfortable playing in a multitude of positions. Someone that can maybe play in midfield, that can play wide in the defense and can invert could probably be an option. And like I said, the final option may be signing another attacking player, but I do think for the other additional positions, they will fully be dependent on who gets sold, what type of money we can bring in for certain players, right? You're looking at Raheem Sterling. Sterling may feel under Maresca, maybe I can flourish again, but equally, are we now seeing certain signs that he could be on the decline right now? These are the big decisions that have to be made. But I think one thing's a given, Maresca is coming into the club now at probably a great time, because with this summer window, once we sign the players we have to sign, we are getting close to creating another peak Chelsea squads. He won't have to waste time flapping around working with players that aren't necessarily needed for his ideas or having to shoehorn in certain players to maybe adapt to make things work. No, we are culling the squad even more and we are fine-tuning it even more to make sure we can do maximum justice to this positional style play. And I think for Maresca, he sees all of this and he thinks, wow, this is a big opportunity now to make my statement, to show what I'm about, to rival my former mentor and Pep Guardiola. These games against Man City are going to be quite fascinating to see how we approach them. To end things, as I've said throughout numerous videos on Enzo Maresca, I think we're all going to have this adjustment mentally to be a bit more patient now behind what's happening at this club, especially in terms of the football. I know that Sarri was the main example of that style of football kind of boring a lot of people, which I can understand. Positional play isn't necessarily the most fluid, exciting football. A lot of it, and we've seen Man City play, is just unrelenting repetition, because the idea of this football is you control the ball. When you control the ball, it means that you can then maneuver the shape of the opposition. You want to pass it left to right, left to right. You want to pass it backwards to like push and encourage them to press you. And you want to be unrelenting with the precision and just the nature behind how you're moving that ball. Because the whole plan is, especially under Maresca, You want to find the opportunity to make the overload. After a while of keeping the ball, let's say for 90 seconds, you're shifting the team. They're getting tired running left, right, coming forward, going backwards. Eventually, as always, one player eventually does tire, does lose concentration, does make a mistake. And with this football, Maresca is encouraging this team to smell blood for when this opportunity arises, create the overloads in that area, and that's how you beat and break down teams. But I can see why some fans may find it a bit boring, because a lot of times it encourages the opposition, unfortunately in this country in particular, to just sit back all the time and park the bus. I don't know why they're not brave enough to maybe press. I don't understand why most managers prefer to just sit back exclusively, but it does seem like we must prepare ourselves to get, used to seeing this type of football of an opposition who only come to us, who only come to Stamford Bridge to frustrate us and try and nick something. It seems like that's the direction we're going back in, but under Maresca, someone who is pretty elite in this way of managing and way of being, he could be someone that could elevate what we do at this football club. So yes, even more videos coming out on Maresca, so many things to discuss, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit that like button, and most importantly, share your thoughts and opinions too. So my friends, I'm NiniFC, this is BlueLionsTV. See you all later.